So, prologue time. Okay, so unless you guys want to introduce your characters first.
Either or.
Yeah, we'll introduce the characters first. So, David, how about you introduce your character first?
Okay, so I am a red dragonborn named Kashan. Plays a fighter despite everyone thinking it's a barbarian. And I decided for background wise I'm gonna have been sent by like a noble from somewhere, as sort of won like a tournament to be his sort of champion, I suppose.
Okay. And that's the person who has
Sent me
to
on the
come on this
quest.
quest.
Yeah.
Okay. And but what is your character hoping to gain from this sort of situation?
So he just wants to fight strong foes.
Okay.
Fair enough.
A Goku-like penchant.
Fair enough. Okay, but Michele, do you want to talk about your character?
Yeah. All right. So basically, Tulip is just normal human like everybody else. What he likes most is just cooking. He's born and raised in a temple of forgot the name.
You did write it down in
Caliph
your...
Moore, which is
Yep.
the god of death.
Yep.
It's nothing related to bad things. It's just how the meaning of death is about changing and stuff, and he believes a lot into changing. So since he believes that, he thinks that he can do more than cooking. So he begs for years for his master, the master of the temple, to let him send him to a journey, to a quest. And he finally achieve that, and he goes trying to do his best and make people happy in the same time.
Okay, and it's this Grand Master of the Temple that has sent Turek on his quest in this regard.
Master Dex.
Yep.
That's his name. Yeah.
Okay, and Natalie, if you'd like to discuss your character.
My character is Tordrum. He's a lizard man. Or lizard person. I'm going ungendered.
Yeah, we're gender neutral.
We're gender neutral. It was quite hard to tell if lizard people had men and women, so it was like a gender neutral lizard man. I'm a wizard, and basically the chieftain of my clan has decided that it's a good idea to have a nosy what's going on out in the real world, rather than just a little area of space.
Okay. And Joshua, who is just coming online now.
You all, I'm just bringing everything up now.
Sure.
I've just logged on and just remembered that my character's got 9 hit points, and I'm rather worried.
No worries.
So, my character's name is Doc Orr. He does have a slight accent. You will hear it when he speaks. He has no memory of his past whatsoever. His earliest memory is him waking up in the slums with a voice in his head that appears in a shadow in front of him. So it can appear in a shadow in front of him, or is just in his head, and he only knows him as the darkness.
Okay.
Docker, again, may or may not be his real name. It's the name that was given to him from this spirit that haunts him. So for this, he has been sent by. Sorry, let me try that again. He is an assassin.
Yep.
Who was trained by the Shadowkind Guild.
Yep.
And he is somewhat of a protege. He has been trained up to essentially take over the whole guild. This task that he has been sent for by the Grandmaster himself, because Docker is his most trusted assassin. Docker does not know why he's been sent. He knows nothing of the mission apart from what he has to do, but asked no questions and happily obeyed his leader.
Okay. Right.
I think I've covered everything.
Yep.
Yes, you can see Daddy.
Okay, so Josh, can you see the map?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, let's jump into the prologue then. So, I'll put. Imagine that I'm speaking with the voice of Morgan Freeman.
Oh my god.
Okay. High above the clouds, following paths long forgotten, are a series of floating fortresses. These colossal steel monuments are older than the oldest book in Candlekeep, and yet remain forgotten to all of history. Only a few know of their existence and their purpose. For thousands of years, the most powerful and dangerous people have been kept in these fortresses, those who could not be killed, but must be contained. Murderers, sorcerers, monsters, and demons, all of them reside here. Despite their anonymity, however, a fortress has come under attack, and the inhabitants have escaped. Thus, our story leads us to the Clinging Isles, a collection of city-states, islands so far removed from the affairs on the mainland of the Forgotten Realms that many of the people there cannot find the Isles on the map without help. It's the perfect place to hide. The land has experienced its share of war and invasions, but now it exists in a state of peace and prosperous trade. Strange tidings have occurred in the Isles. Unexplained storms, crop failures, people going missing, and the stench of war is on the air. The people of the Isles pray for saviours to relieve them of the terrors inflicted on them by the escapees, and it seems that their prayers have been answered. Rumours begin to spread throughout the Isles. The Alphas have come to the Isles. Considered both heroes and villains in equal measure, there are those who regard their presence as an additional threat and both a saving grace. And this is where you guys come in. Each of you represent a group that has received word from a mysterious character known only as the Ghost. Despite the mystery, your superiors hold this request in the highest regard, and have sent you to the Frankish town of De Winter in the Northern Isles. Whether you have accepted this out of a sense of duty, honour, or your own sense of adventure, your paths each cross at the gates of De Winter. Okay, so each of you has been given a letter by your superiors, which is basically the letter that was addressed to them from this mysterious The Ghost character. Basically, the letter instructs your superior to send somebody, i.e. you, to the place of De Winter to help them deal with the threat from the floating fortresses. With this letter is a golden and metal bracelet, which you are to wear to signify that you are an ally of the Alphas, and that anybody who also wears the bracelet is to be considered your ally and not to be harmed.
Okay.
So, as you enter De Winter, do each of you don your bracelets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, each of you arrives at De Winter, and taking various paths, but you all sort of congregate by the main sort of entrance to the town. As you sort of regard each other, you notice So as you regard each other, each of you acknowledges the fact that you are wearing a bracelet with the exact same uniform make of your own, and you therefore come to the conclusion that each of you are allies and effectively should not be messed with. So, do you guys want to go through a quick greeting with each other?
Yeah, it's fine. Well, Chef Turik doesn't get not noticed because he's kind of like big and fluffy, let's say.
Okay.
So he just comes up to the gate, I guess. There's a gate or something. See all the people behind him, especially a lizard, and he got really excited to see somebody that is not a human or a elf or a drow. So it just goes to the lizard person, gender person, and he just stared at him and said, "Hi, I'm Chef Turik. Who are you?"
Okay, who wants to respond to that? Okay, so Okay, so Tordum is basically just hissing at everybody around you.
Docker will not speak unless he's been spoken to, and he's not kind of like within the immediate area. He'll be off somewhere on his own against like a wall.
So sort of there-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Bear in mind, guys, you are free to move your own tiles and stuff like that.
Oh, can we?
You may have to move me because
Yeah, that's fine.
I've decided that I'm the most comfortable place to
That's
perch.
fine. That's fine. Okay, so as you enter the town, it's been raining quite hard, and you've been over the course of your journeys to De Winter, you've each been caught in various hailstorms and heavy rain. You haven't suffered any injuries, but you aren't particularly comfortable. It's late afternoon, and it's coming into evening. You've arrived at the city of De Winter, a fortress town named after the military hero Lord De Winter, whose family rules here. Now that you've entered the town, what would you like to do?
Do we have any sort of indication as to who we're supposed to be meeting, other than the others wearing their bracelets and stuff?
No. All you've received is information saying that you should arrive at De Winter and that you'll be contacted by the various parties that
By
have
someone.
interest with you.
Okay, so can I go up to these two sort of guard guys? Are they guarding the gate by the looks of it?
Yeah, sure. They're basically
Um,
guarding the main entrance into the town. This sort of line here is effectively like the main highway, as it were.
Okay. I suppose I'd ask them if there's like an inn, tavern kind of area, somewhere we can get some rest.
Sure. As you approach the
Am I
guards, one of them is regarding you with vague interest, while the other one is pretty much falling asleep and humming a tune to himself. So as you approach, greetings, strangers. What business do you bring?
2 seconds. What?
I'm just sort of standing at the back, sort of. Is there anybody doing it? I'm hungry. Ouch.
Sorry. So what were you saying? Did we get given some sort of directions, or?
The guard has basically just greeted you and asked what your business is.
I inform them about receiving a letter, tell them where to meet here, and ask if there's a town, like an inn or a tavern, something like that, that can sort of provide some shelter after so long in the rain.
So the guard nods, and his helmet is very ill-fitting, so it's all fallen over his eyes, so he repeatedly has to sort of push it back up. He does so, and they said, "Hey, very well, very well. The inn is the big building just over here," and he basically points with his spear to this big building here. "Take heed. The town is under heavy curfew at night. There's a killer wandering the streets. Best make your way and see if lodgings could be made."
Is there food?
Aye, it's an inn. Food isn't free, of course, but there will be food there.
Food could be made free.
With enough persuasion, perhaps.
So the two...
Alright, shall I kind of inform everyone that there's like an inn and ask them to head that direction? Drocker included in that?
Okay, so the two guards basically part to allow you entrance. Okay,
I'll just do it bit by bit.
So as you pass into the main road, you can hear the sounds of a smith hammering away at an anvil and cursing the roof above him because it's doing pretty much nothing to keep the rain out of the building.
Okay.
I want to get out of this rain. It's cold.
Should we just head directly to the like the inn then?
Sure.
Is it this building here? You said.
Yep.
How do I ping things again?
Sorry?
How do I like ping things on the map?
Just hold down left click on wherever you want.
Ah, there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll head to the tavern.
Okay. You pass an open roof building which is lit with a blue light. But it appears that this place is some sort of meeting place which is now currently empty. There's a marketplace opposite. which is in the state of closing, and the weather appears to have disrupted business quite immensely. You approach the inn, which from here you can tell is packed to absolute bursting. It's gotten to the point that a member of the town guards is waiting outside, basically acting as a bouncer. The guard basically stops your approach to the city, into the tavern, by basically just moving his spear across the door. Hail, strangers. If you seek room at the inn, I'm afraid you'll be left wanting. The innkeeper has overextended himself, again, and there's just simply no room, neither rest nor food. You can stay here a while and see if anyone is thrown out due to violence, but I can't guarantee that will happen. If you're lacking for lodgings, you could try the local temple. Lodgings can be acquired for a donation, though to keep a close eye on your purse and beware of the dangers of plague.
Docker shakes his head disapprovingly.
Can we
What
get
did he
food at
say?
the temple?
Yes, I believe the soup kitchen is putting out food, but may want to get there quickly to see if
Is it
you...
warm?
I don't know, I don't eat church food.
No, is the building warm?
It's got 4 walls and a roof. Yeah, I'm not a particularly churchy person myself. I prefer the church of, shall we say, the buxom variety.
I have no feeling either way for that. I just require warmth and food.
Okay, so he gives you the directions for the temple, which is here. What would you guys like to do?
I'm going to make a beeline for the food and the warmth.
Docker, are you harassing the blacksmith?
I am. I'm just stood in front of him. I'm not actually saying anything to him. I'm just looking at him.
You're staring at him through the holes in his wall.
Yeah.
So the blacksmith looks up after wiping his head and looks at you. Doesn't seem at all surprised that you're there. He's like, "G'day. What can I do for you, my beardless friend?"
He's just. So Docker's got. He's in like almost like a trench coat, but with a hood.
Yeah.
So obviously big, dark. Looks a bit scary, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just going to lift his eyes up, lift his eyes back down again, turn around, and walk away.
The dwarf just sort of watches you leave with a strange expression in his face, and well, that doesn't make me feel like I'm going to be murdered tonight. And goes back to hammering at his anvil.
And then he'll probably walk. He'll probably walk and sit on this bench here.
Okay. Right, so you've been given directions for the temple. What would you like to do?
I'm already at the temple. I'm at the door going, let me give me food.
Okay.
I suppose I'll follow.
Okay.
It's a good thing we have a chef in our group.
Yeah, it doesn't like rain though.
I don't like rain. I'm a lizard.
It keeps you hydrated, right? Anyhow,
I enjoy everything dark and dingy.
We'll leave you outside then.
He does have a hood, so he should be fine.
I'll eat
Exactly.
his share of the food.
Okay, so you pass through the market to get to the church. But the weather has clearly disrupted the business of the day, as many of the carts are still remaining with full boxes of products. There's a big table in the middle of what would be considered the market area, and a bard is basically lying on the table. Well, sort of lying / sitting. And he's basically just plucking out a lute while being drenched in the rain. And he's singing a song about a lover who was so soaked through that her clothes literally washed away, and the song quickly turns to a vivid description of her wetness and nakedness.
Docker is just going to look at him, just go, "Oi, bard! Shut up!"
The bard basically strings a chord on the lute and is like, "My dear fellow, music is an art. Your art is clearly of the more physical capacity, and I don't mean the profitable kind. So if you do not want to listen to my art, I suggest you take your business elsewhere."
I really want to be a
Actually
knob. I
got
really,
content.
really want to be a knob right now. So can Docker let a dagger slide down his sleeve into his hand, and can he just swipe across the loot, cutting all the strings?
Oh, no,
Sure.
you've got
Sure.
you
Give
got-
me
you got-
give me an attack. Give me an attack roll.
Oh, hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
By the way, a quick question about your thieves' cant. Do you need to activate it, or does it just happen automatically?
I don't aim to injure. I just aim to stop the noise.
Yeah, no. But your abilities to sort of like read body language and stuff like that, is that an ability that you need to activate? Or but do you want to do it that you've always got that ability open? It's an ability called Thieves' Cant.
I thought thieves' cant was I thought it was a language spoken between rogues.
Yeah, basically it's a language where you basically pick up codes and stuff like that. So
Right. Okay.
I was just wondering, do you want to do it so that you have to actively look for that, or is it something that you automatically pick up?
It's something that he automatically picks up.
Okay, cool.
Massive.
Okay, so make your attack.
18.
Okay, you definitely hit. But the loot only has 3 hit points, so make your attack roll.
What's the attack roll? It is 1d4 plus 2. That's 5.
Yeah, okay. So you cut all of the strings, and the knife actually cuts through a big part of the loot arm as well. So the whole thing you don't necessarily cut it in half, but you cut it enough so that just by him holding it, it snaps in two.
Nice.
So,
I mean,
but why? It's music. It's art. It's like a wonderful, beautiful woman. You wouldn't knife a beautiful woman, would you?
does it like woman? I don't know. Not judging.
Docker he's just going to look at him very sternly. Well, more intimidating. I might have to do an intimidation roll if I need to.
Yeah, go for it.
Don't give Matt ideas.
Well, I mean that's a nat 20, so that's 24.
Okay. So where are you in comparison to him?
So I imagine I'll have just walked in front of him to slash across his loot.
Okay. So he basically put. You're unsure as to whether or not he is actually intimidated by you out of a sense of fear, or if he's making a sort of tactical withdrawal. But either way, he leaves the table, like with both pieces of his loot in his hand, and he rushes off in this direction.
Cool. And then Docker is going to say to himself, not necessarily to the spirit in his head or anything, just to himself. He's just going to say, "He shouldn't have told me what my talents are," and then walks off.
Okay.
Walks towards the church. Sorry,
Okay.
temple.
Okay, so you come to the stairs of the temple. Much like the sort of public fountain room, it's illuminated with a pale blue light. But there isn't much noise coming from the temple, but aside from consistent chanting, which through natural acoustics is echoing out into the streets. As you approach the temple, an old man in a black robe steps out and basically gives you a very sardonic bow, but doesn't say anything else in order to greet you.
But I bow as well, and I greet them for thanking them for my presence.
So the priest basically gives you another sort of sardonic bow, and then sort of turns and gestures with his whole arm to what looks like a clay urn, which has a couple of coins in it.
I go and tap
Yeah,
on the
what?
urn and just sort of knock at it and look in. It's not food.
Oh, I'll give you food in a minute, but you have to shut up a second.
Damn.
So
Fine.
I didn't really get it. It's a coin. It's a purse for a few coins, right?
Yeah.
Right. Is that an offer? I say.
So the priest who it sort of dawns on you that this guy has taken some sort of vow of silence, and he basically nods and then leads you into the temple.
Oh. I guess we follow him.
Can I take the jug with me?
Unfortunately not, it's a very heavy clay urn.
Oh,
You can give me a strength test if you want, but chances are you'll
I've
just
got
fall in.
crap strength.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's fun.
Docker, are you joining them?
Yeah, I'll be.
I rolled a 13.
The 13, okay. You struggle against it and you create a big rattling noise, but other than that, you're unable to do anything else with it.
Yeah, Doc is gonna just slowly follow behind. Bit of distance away, but he'll be there.
Okay. So you step inside the temple, and it's basically a long rectangular building that's based around a right-hand turn. Left-hand turn rather. But in the middle of the sort of atrium area is a massive bonfire, which occasionally the people who are meditating around it are throwing in handfuls of sand or dust, which then temporarily changes the colours of the flame, and it lasts like that until somebody else throws a new patch of dust in.
Oh.
Towards the back of the temple, but you can see a bunch of, should we say, homeless-looking people are eating out of bowls with their hands, some sort of stew-like food, but they're at the end of their meal, so you can't really tell what it is.
Boo. Run from power someone.
Okay, so one of the brothers or priests or whatever, they basically just pull out a bowl, and they've got like this big cauldron in front of them. They ladle 2 spoonfuls, as it were, into this bowl, and then hands it to you. They don't offer you any cutlery.
That's fine. I'll just stick my face. I'll stick my face in it and sit by one of the coloured fires.
Okay. Any of you want to join her?
Yeah, I'll join.
I don't. I just wanna join the guys to pray a little bit, just a quick one with
Okay.
them for a little.
Okay. Give me
Let's
a
see.
religion check, please.
What? Sorry.
A religion check, please.
Mm-hmm. So it's a 17.
Okay. You recognize this as a temple to the god of knowledge. You are aware of the customs and stuff, and you are also aware that this temple, unlike other temples, is very tolerant of other people's beliefs, and so you're not surprised that these monks are welcoming you to pray with them, even though you follow a different deity.
Cool. Nice.
Okay. As say an hour or so passes, you hear the sounds of the hailstorm begin to flit away, and you don't really hear any other sounds coming from the town. If you were to poke your head out, you would notice that all of the guards who were posted and that you had seen over the course of the day have all disappeared. So the town is now completely empty.
Oh.
Ooh.
Despite this, however, you can hear on the wind a very, very faint song begin to be sung. The song is in the form of a lullaby, but if you strain your ears, you can start and detect some of the lyrics. You can actually find out that the song is actually quite a sinister one.
Okay.
Do we have any indications to like where it's coming from?
At the moment, it's sort of centering around this area. But as you're inside and too far away, you can't really tell anything more than that.
Okay. So are there no people inside the temple at all, or?
Yeah, the people who are in the temple with you are still there, but outside the temple, the town is now effectively empty.
Okay.
So Docker will be very interested in the sinister nature of the song as it happens.
Okay.
And he will be attempting to go and investigate, but staying in the shadows. So trying to stay outside, basically.
Okay. Give me a stealth check.
Oh, I'm proficient in this.
Yeah. So if you fail this, you've got no one to blame but yourself.
If I fail this, it's funny.
Does anyone have
14 plus 6 is 22.
20.
No,
Oh.
20. Sorry, yeah, dirty 20.
Okay. And speaking of which, I would also like to congratulate you on being the first with a natural 20 on your intimidation check.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Darn.
So whereabouts are you moving to with your stealthing?
So did you say that it's coming from about here?
Yeah.
So Docker is going to he's going to try and find as much of the shadows as he possibly can.
Okay. Bearing in mind,
So he's just gonna follow around until.
Okay, sure. Okay, bear in mind that all of these lamps that you see on the map that are emanating light, all of these lamps are now turned off.
Oh, okay. So he'll just be wandering around then.
Yeah.
He'll still be stealthy. He'll still try and stay outside. But if the lights aren't lit,
Yeah.
makes it easier for him, obviously.
Yeah. So the little Skyrim eye has appeared in front of your eyes, and it's now closed. You're fully stealthed.
Cool.
Do any of you guys want to join him?
Can I just ask to the priestess inside what's going on outside? Maybe they know something.
Okay. So do you want to talk to the one that's taken the vow of silence, or do you want to talk to the one of the other ones?
Whatever is the nearest to me.
Okay. Fortunately, it's one that is capable of talking. Basically, just says, "We don't know. Like, for a very long time. Well, no, not. There's been a chill on the air for a long time, and recently, a few days ago, at night, we hear this song, and we got no idea who sings this or why, but it gives us an air of foreboding. And he makes the sign of the God of Knowledge, which is basically two. He makes a hand with his fingers like this, and puts that to his chest. And thinking that's enough explanation, he then turns and carries on with his duties.
Oh, okay.
So have the people outside like fully disappeared? Or gone?
They basically just return to their homes and then just shut
Right.
the doors.
Right,
If you would
okay.
step outside, but you it has the
Well-
aura of a ghost town, but
Okay.
tiny beams of light coming in from underneath doors and stuff like that would tell you that people are still there.
Okay.
Occasionally you hear a raised voice coming from one of the houses, but actually on the street there's nobody there.
Okay, so I mean, noticing that Drucker's kind of stuck out,
Mhm.
I'd head up marketplace, like
Okay.
in the sort of direction.
Okay. Okay, so the singer of the song appears to be sitting on top of the roof of the inn. But the song is basically telling the story of somebody who you seem to identify as being called the Alpha, who comes to a town at night, promises to kill a monster, robs that town blind for its reward, and then kills the townsfolk as they attempt to resist. leaving a trail of dead and broken hearts. But the singer themselves appears to be female and has a very sort of like siren-y voice. It's echoing throughout the town without any reason for it to be so acoustic.
So the noise is not normal. We're talking about magic stuff, right?
Yeah, but basically it's echoing throughout the town to the point that you can tell that the entire town can hear it. But,
And they're all just kind of accepting that it's happening.
yeah.
Okay. Can we see the person?
Unfortunately not, simply because the inn is a 3-story building, and you can't see sort of past the roof of it.
But we can kind of identify that that's where the sound is coming from.
Yeah.
Docker is just going to say, what is it with everyone in this town and singing?
I guess
I
you're
don't
not
like
the only
to
one
do
that doesn't like
don't
it.
worry. I don't like the rain either, so I'm not really standing still. It's cold.
Okay, so Tordum...
I wondered what was going on.
Okay, so Tordum, as you move towards the inn, the singer appears to be moving away from you. As if they're trying to lead you somewhere.
Oh, they are scared of me. I will chase them. I don't know if I'm going the right way. I'm just apparently I've scared the person.
Do you want to follow?
Docker is going to go to about here and see what he can hear.
Okay, give me an investigation check. I'll say with advantage, because they don't seem to be bothered about being stealthy about you.
Yeah. Let me get a set. There we go. Second D20 is out.
Let me not stand still too long. It is wet. It is raining. It is cold.
22.
Okay.
Wow, I'm rolling well today.
Yes, you are. Okay, so as you get to these barrels, the song suddenly stops, and you more feel, as opposed to hear, that the singer has jumped from this building to this building and is now heading this way.
So I'm just running
Okay.
around that building.
Can I? So I'm going to keep on following the voice.
Okay.
So I imagine I'd get to about here.
Yep. So as you follow the song, which is effectively taking you now throughout this town, but you don't notice anybody, not even guards who are enforcing the curfew. And finally, as you approach the lake, the singer appears to stop and is now... Sorry, one sec. The singer now stops and is now effectively waiting for you in this area. As you approach, you see a very pretty and very young red-headed woman dressed in a highly revealing outfit who is sitting on one of the barrels in a very provocative position. And as you approach, she very coincidentally brings the song to a natural end, as if she had planned that you coming to this point would be the length of the song.
Yeah.
And if you need a better picture of her, there you go.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Docker is going to. What's the spirit in Docker's head saying? Is he saying anything at all?
At this point, it's displaying curiosity. There's something about this girl that it can't quite put its finger on. It's sort of like one of those.
It doesn't have any fingers.
It's sort of one of those. But it recognizes that there's something similar about her. To it, but it doesn't quite figure out what.
Yeah. So okay. So Docker is going to approach, and he's going to say, in a very not intimidating but stern tone,
Mm-hmm.
Who are you and why are you singing?
He doesn't like people singing.
Music.
So she even though that she's been looking directly at you, she's sort of like pretends as if she's only just noticed you, and sort of crosses her legs over, in a very provocative fashion. Was that
Right.
so? You don't like my singing then?
I don't like anyone singing.
Can we
Well,
not have this conversation in the rain? I just sort of like pop up in that sort of like in between. Never mind.
You would have thought a lizard folk could be like adept at the water.
Unfortunately, apparently, I'm from the desert.
I imagine.
But
You
it's
know, like
very
when
hot
you-
and doesn't rain.
Do you know, like when you see lizards that are like running across sand to stop the feet getting really hot? I imagine that's what you're doing right now, just running around.
Just fully sprinting around this
Yeah,
building that we seem to be
and then she'll suddenly appear and she'll go, "I don't like the rain," and run off.
Hey, at least I'm not asking for food anymore.
I want food. Runs off. I don't like the rain. Runs off. Yeah. So Docker is going to say. Yeah. So Docker's just said, "I don't like anyone singing," and he's just going to be looking sternly at her, not moving his eyes, transfixed on her face.
Okay. So while you're doing this, even though you're focusing on her eyes, you're picking up through her body language that she's sort of doing a seductive sort of tell, as it were, that you've seen other members of your Assassin's Guild form when they're using sexual appeal for whatever it is they're going to be doing. If that makes sense.
So, am I taking that as she's part of my guild?
Give me an intelligence check.
Oh, intelligence. I'm not good. Oh no, I am good at that. That's all right then.
I'd be worried if you weren't.
He might be a talented assassin, but not very smart.
I mean, I've just rolled shitly. That's a 7.
What's quite funny is I actually got quite high intelligence considering I'm pretty stupid.
I've just rolled really badly. That's a 7.
Okay.
Because
So,
you called it before.
Right, so you recognise this as effectively an assassin language,
Right.
but you don't recognise it as something that your guild would do.
Okay.
So, like along the lines of your Assassin's Guild doesn't utilise sexual appeal; it just simply uses pointy things.
Pointy things. Nice.
So, so you get the impression, and also by the way that she's dressed, that she herself is a rogue, and that she has received some level of assassin training, but
Right.
Not from your guys.
Okay. Docker doesn't want to charm her. What does Docker want to do?
So what was it that you were? What was
Shall
it that
we
you
eat
asked for?
her? Just a
What-
suggestion.
Is this like a shared sort of? Is this just his understanding that she's a rogue?
Yeah, at this point, until he actively says so, he's the only person who knows.
Yeah. So Docker is going to openly turn to you guys, and I'm hoping by the time that he turns around that Nat's character will be there somewhere. It'll be the point when she stopped to complain about the rain.
I'm crying heartbroken because I'm so cold.
Docker is going to put his hands. So, do you know when you see monks put the hands in the sleeves of the trench coat?
Yeah.
Well, robes.
Yep.
He's going to do the same thing. Now, you guys won't know this, but I'm going to say it for Matt's benefit. It'll be him like grabbing his knives to prepare in case something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And Docker's going to turn around and go, this one's like me.
And she
Doesn't like singing?
Damn.
Man.
He's gonna Docker's gonna look at you again with a very like fed up tone of in his eyes and be like, "No, an assassin."
Okay, I'd like to pick up on that. Turn to the woman, questioning, like, asking her if she's to blame for the murders around town. Like, are we to take you for just directly?
So she leans forward, and her top is situated in such a way that when she leans forward, you get effectively a full view down her top. And
Nice.
And she basically says, "No, but neither is he." And she gestures behind you.
Docker doesn't look at him.
I've just run straight into him backwards. You put that token down as my token was moving.
So basically, out of the shadows of this building, the light is sort of like reflecting off of the lake at this point. You see a pair of very vivid yellow glowing eyes, and he basically steps out of the door and comes behind you, effectively blocking you off here, and basically just simply stands there looking effectively impressive. He's not necessarily posing, but he's basically standing there in what seems to be very exquisite leather armor, with a massive bow slung over his shoulder, and a sword which is basically being held upside down so that the hilt is by his hip, which is on his back. He's also the armor is studded in all sorts of different places with silver spikes and studs, and he's also got knives in pretty much anywhere that you would expect to see knives and extras.
So he's essentially me.
Yeah.
Will I have? Can I do like a history check or something to see if I know of a guild that has that particular style of assassin?
Yeah, sure, go for
it. 14.
Okay. You don't recall the name of the actual guild, but you know that the iconic pointed hood which he's wearing is basically the guild that he works for. Other than that, he has no sort of identifying features.
Right, okay.
Do the rest of you want to do anything?
Can I smell them? I have nose. Can I smell
Can I smell them?
Yeah,
I
sure.
smell them?
Sure, do give me an investigation check.
Well, lizards have incredible sense of smell, so...
Yes, do it with
Smell
advantage.
them.
Do it with advantage then.
Again, this is another
Oh, I
thing. If
got
she
an natural
runs around,
20.
I don't like rain.
I
Runs off again.
don't like rain. I don't like rain.
I don't like you.
If it helps, I got a natural 20.
Okay.
Nice.
Aside from just like the general body odors and smell of like wet clothes and stuff, you get a very distinct smell of dog from this guy.
He smells like a dog.
So did they say they weren't to blame for the murders? Just to sort of backtrack a little.
Yeah.
She said it wasn't her.
They're claiming innocence in terms of the local murders.
And I'm
Okay.
saying he smells like a wet dog.
Can we say anything that defines them as like being with us, like wearing like the gold bracelets and stuff, or
Okay. She's
do they look
wearing
to be?
she's wearing a short sleeved outfit, and on her wrist is a bracelet. And
Okay.
he's basically holding his hands effectively behind his back, as if he's getting ready to pull something out on you should you prove to be a threat. The part of his wrist is glinting in sort of like the half light, and you could sort of put two and two together and see that being one of the bracelets.
Okay. So I suppose I'll turn to the guy instead of the singer and ask if he's the one sent for work.
Yes, but I must say, you made good time getting here, despite and he sort of like looks toward him. enthusiasms, shall we say.
It's cold. It's raining. I'm a lizard. So sue me.
Look at the bright side. You're not hungry anymore.
Yeah, but he smells like a dog. And I'm wondering if he's tasty. I mean,
Turek, do
Let's
you want to do
maybe
anything?
not eat the person who might be the one that's sent for.
fine. I won't eat the man.
Turek, do you want to do anything?
No, just possibly be there and just standing really confused about what's happening.
Yeah, okay. So, once you guys have effectively calmed down, as it were, he holds up his arm that has the bracelet on it and is like, "So, we're to be allies then. A pity. That's. I'd be interested to see what you'd be capable of. But for now, come with me. Unfortunately, the streets aren't safe after dark." And he turns to the girl, basically just simply says to her in a very authoritative voice, which sort of leaves you with in the impression that he is her superior, as it were. Make sure they weren't followed. She makes no sounds of reply,
And the
But-
game was on.
but there's a slight crunching and whooshing sound. And so where she was, if you guys were to turn around, is now a fully fledged Bengal tiger.
Oh.
Can I eat the tiger?
Yeah, so Docker is gonna look at it. I imagine that there'll be some recognition somewhere for something to do with shapeshifters and a guild somewhere. He probably won't remember the guild, but he'll acknowledge that he kind of knows who they are and go, the shapeshifters, and then we'll carry on.
Yep. In terms of identifying features of the tiger, she's got the exact same eyes that she had in her human form, which are a very vivid green.
Excuse me?
So he basically walks past you, and basically indicates to you, "Come with me," and starts heading down the street.
All right, let's follow the stranger.
Yeah. So as he's moving through the street, he's whistling the same song which the girl was singing. And every now and then he sort of like knocks on one of the wooden walls around the buildings, particularly on corners, and you're not entirely sure why. Eventually, he leads you to a very dilapidated part of the town. And it's basically this big square complex of buildings that all appear to be boarded up and put for various different purposes completely abandoned. He approaches the well, and after doing various tapping the different bricks, he finally finds the one that he's looking for. He pushes it down, and you hear the sounds of heavy contraptions suddenly working, and a doorway basically appears in one of the walls here. And he's basically brought you to what will later be regarded as the Alpha Base. So if you guys want to give yourself 100 XP, so he basically leads you into the Alpha Base. Aside from the various dilapidations around the exterior, once you step in, you find yourself in a very finely furnished building, with very luxurious carpets, very thick wooden walls, and metal shutters on the windows, which at this point are all currently closed. The building is very well lit on the inside, but from the outside, you wouldn't be able to tell that anything was happening in here at all. So you guys go step inside the building with him?
I'm going to just
Yes.
run in.
Okay.
Full time. No
Okay.
stopping me.
So okay. Greeting you at the door is a very smartly dressed man in a black suit with a little green waistcoat. He's quite elderly, and his hands are held behind his back in a very dignified manner. So, this guy?
Sure.
Yeah.
But
So, Mr. Birch. It's good that you finally made it back. We were getting worried. And the man basically, who's apparently called Birch, basically steps up to the man and takes his hand in a handshake. So, things happened, things ensued, were overcome, and nobody died. That's the main thing, I guess.
nobody.
Is everybody here? And George basically gives him a slight bow and a nod, and is like, yes, Mistress Jen is waiting for you in the war room. Lady Birch is currently conducting her prayers, and Lady Jenkins has not yet returned from her adventures. And Birch basically says to him that, yeah, she'll be along soon. Is my son in bed? And the guy named George basically seems to sink somewhat, in what looks to be some sort of like apologetic gesture. That I'm afraid not, sir. I'm afraid your son is currently climbing the rafters about 5 feet above your head and is getting ready to pounce. And Birch basically says, yeah, very well. And at that point, something tiny, orange, and fluffy descends into the room above you and basically yelps out in a high-pitched, childish voice, pounce!
It's cute and fluffy, and I eat it.
The cat, who has basically pounced into the room ahead of you, basically hear this and goes, ah! And hides behind Birch. Don't eat me! So Scott basically scoops the cat up and is like, don't worry, nobody's going to eat you. Not unless you go to bed. So he gives the cat to George, who bows in a dignified manner, and basically takes the cat with him. So, if you want to get rid of those wet clothes, you can join us in the war room whenever you're ready. And he basically walks down the corridor and goes into this room. And the door doesn't necessarily close the door behind you, but the door is fashioned as such so that if nobody is there to hold it open, it closes automatically on itself.
Ooh, magic. Cool.
Okay, so you're now in this sort of like hallway, aside from Docker, obviously. So what do you guys want to do?
Well, he said we could change our wet clothes, so I'm going to run up and down the corridor stroking my clothes.
Okay, so now you have a naked lizard in the...
He doesn't say
Make
where
it
to
an
go,
agenda
clothes
now.
from, or where to go.
Okay, so you step into a very large and majoritively empty room. In one of the corners is a woman who is basically kneeling at a homemade altar, and she seems entirely normal, bar the fact that she has massive eagle-like wings protruding from her back. Yeah, that one.
I'm going to run away from the lady.
Wait.
I'm going to go hide in the room. I don't like birds.
And then sitting at the table in basically dressed up in an outfit which effectively denotes flight. Like he's wearing a helmet that's got wings on it, and then flowing robe-like armor. Is a man sitting at the table.
I'm going to hide behind the man.
Okay. The man basically regards you without much interest, and aside from this cursory glance, doesn't actually acknowledge you at all. And you can see that he's actually making fletching for arrows, like basically slotting feathers into prepared pieces of wood, and then with a slight razor blade, which he's tangled around his thumb, is basically shaving the fletching down to acceptable levels.
Okay, I notice all of this, and Dead just decided to follow it. And just good. That's just good.
Okay, Turek,
like
what do you
him.
want to do?
I'll just go to the warmest room, which I guess is this one over here,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna strip off my tunic, leaving myself in pants, and sit on the table and start to peel 3 apples to eat. That's
Okay.
fine.
And Docker, what are you doing?
Docker is gonna ignore everything that's going on in the main room for a second. So he's gonna ignore everything that's going on in here.
Yep.
He's gonna go completely past it. Come into this room, experience everything that has been going on.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you've just come and hid behind me now.
You're safe.
So Docker's going to obviously experience you hiding behind him. He's going to look at you and just go, What are you doing, lizard?
I don't like birds, but I don't like wingman either. They eat lizards.
He's then gonna turn back around because he's got you clinging onto him, and he's gonna lead you back into this main room, which is where he didn't want to go, but because you've clung onto him, that's where he's now gone. And he's gonna take out both of his knives from his sleeves, and he's gonna start sharpening them in the corner.
Fire!
Okay, so in this room, this room is basically packed to bursting with scrolls, maps, and various other research paraphernalia. In the center of the room is a very large table, which has various seats around it, and it seems that whoever has been at this table has recently just finished a meal, as there's empty plates still dotted around the table.
Can I lick the plates?
Yep.
Make sure they're clean.
Sure, if you want. But in the room are the guy Birch, and then a very, very large, muscle-bound black guy with a very closely cropped haircut.
Oh, you best believe Doc wants to intimidate him.
And then what looks to be an elf woman who has two katanas on her back, and she appears to be wearing some sort of crown.
Sort of.
She must be egg.
She turns to you and says, "Unfortunately not, but I am the leader here. Please, take a seat."
What is a seat?
And she sort of nudges one of the chairs out from underneath the table, and then just sort of indicates the chair,
Okay.
seemingly expecting you to know what to do.
I'm just gonna pull the cushion off it and sit on the floor.
Okay. The black man sort of regards Docker. Are you using a whetstone for this, or are you just sort of sharpening them against each other?
Sharpening them against each other.
Okay. So he basically reaches under the chair and pulls out two long swords and very casually starts doing the exact same thing.
Oh God! Here we go.
At that point, the guy from the other room comes in, and without saying anything, just takes his presumed place here. And then after a moment, the woman comes in. Just before this door closes, you can see her sort of tuck her wings into her back, but instead of them sort of just folding up like a bird's would, they actually disappear into her back as if they were never there. She basically comes in here and gives the guy Birch a quick kiss before she takes her seat next to him there.
I'm gonna run off and sit over here.
From behind the table.
I'm gonna hide behind these two.
At which point George then comes in and basically just stands as if at sentry at the door.
Why do people let birds in here?
So, do you say that, or are you just thinking that?
I'm thinking it, but
Okay.
I possibly say it out loud without realising. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Docker's gonna sit directly across from this guy here, and he's gonna bring out. He's outdone me, But he's going to bring out his short sword. He's going to stab his knife in the table, bring out his short sword, and just start sharpening it in front of him.
Okay. So give me a minute. Let me just do a
I was
performance
seeing if I
check with
had
him.
any weapon boosting spells, but I don't.
Sorry, my dice app closed, but whenever I told him not to. Bear with me. So he basically puts his swords down on the table, and then briefly goes into this room. So you can hear a sort of clattering noise as he is apparently getting something. And he comes in, and he's got a massive spear with the Japanese Naginata spears.
Mhm.
He's basically got one of those, and he basically walks right up to you, and then starts sharpening that as well.
God.
I'm gonna start picking my teeth.
Competition.
Docker is going to see all this, and he's going to say in his head to the spirit, he's going to go, "This guy's cool. I like him." But he's gonna look as if he's still very, very angry at him. But in his head, he's just saying to the spirit, he's just going, "This guy's very cool. I like him a lot."
As when you finish saying that, put the bird woman and the guy named Birch, they both let out a chuckle as if somehow they've heard this.
Docker's gonna look really concerned.
Ooh.
So the woman Jen, who's the elf woman, basically gestures at Scott at Birch to basically tell him that the floor is effectively his. So he basically stands. Thank you for coming. As you know, you represent basically our interests in this land. We, as you may have guessed, we are the Alphas. We are, I suppose, our main description would be monster hunters. But we have come to the Clinging Isles not just to hunt monsters, but to hunt a number of other things. Do any of you know about the floating fortresses of Escaroth?
Do we have any sort of information about this?
But each of you give me a history check, and
History.
My history.
19.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh, I got a 17.
I just rolled a 10.
I got a 10 as well.
okay. So, what did you get now?
19.
And what did you get, David?
17.
Okay. You two remember stories that you were told as a child about a floating castle which basically held great monsters, and you heard stories about brave explorers who went up to the castles, fought these monsters, and kept them stopped them from attacking the people on the ground, and everyone lived happily ever after. But that's really all that you can recall about it.
So as if it was like a fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, alright.
McKelly, even though you obviously rolled badly and stuff, but you remember the name being mentioned. You don't know why, but you have remembered reading about it in your sort of scholarly works.
Mm-hmm.
And Docker, you remember at some point somebody made reference to a place called Escaroth, and you assumed it had been part of some sort of contract.
Okay.
So he basically looks around you and doesn't necessarily but see recognition in his voice, in your looks and stuff. So he basically says, but the fortresses of Escaroth are great floating fortresses which, shall we say, the more shadowy aspects of civilization, used to imprison people of certain skill sets. we've helped put certain monsters away, monsters that could not be killed by traditional means, shall we say, and also people who worship monsters, sorcerers, but demon kind, all sorts of different vile and unnatural things have been placed in these fortresses at our hand. And so we feel a certain responsibility for what has happened. For some reason, we don't know how or why, but the nearby fortress of Escaroth, which passed over this land about a month ago, was broken into, and we have confirmation that at least 10 of those prisoners have escaped and come to the Clinging Isles.
10 prisoners, you said.
We believe that one of them is here in De Winter, hence why we have set up our base here. Unfortunately, we have no more information than that. And this is where you guys come in. In every city that we have influence in the Clinging Isles, we have a contact. This contact is supposed to basically maintain control of the Alpha base and ensure that, should something like this happen, we're prepared for it. However, the contact for De Winter has disappeared. At which point, the woman next to him sort of interrupts and like, well, he hasn't really disappeared. And and he basically gives her an irritated expression. Is like, fine. We know where he is, but we don't know why he hasn't made contact with us. It's the Alpha
Maybe
Contact's
it's the
first
rain.
duty. Yeah, maybe. It's the Alpha Contact's first duty that should any of us appear in the city, they're to make immediate contact with us. However, he hasn't. He makes his appearances in the marketplace throughout the day, and is very overt in his presence, shall we say. So we feel he is trying to make contact with us, but we think that he is being watched by people who may have ties to the fortresses of Escaroth. So what we need you to do, as effectively, shall we say, a trial run for all of you, is that when you make contact with him, find out what's going on, and find out who may have compromised him.
A trial run.
Yes, let's just say, should you complete said trial run, things could be very lucrative for you.
Mm.
Whilst this conversation is going on,
Mhm.
Docker's going to try and one up the bloke who he's having a masculinity fight with,
Okay.
and he's going to pull out the knife that he's just stabbed into the table
Mm-hmm.
and try and spin it on his finger like he would a basketball.
Okay.
All right.
Um,
I'm at the kit.
Do you need me to do like a performance check or anything?
Yeah, give me a performance check.
I thought you might do. 18.
Okay, so you perform it flawlessly, and he actually raises an eyebrow and gives you a nice little nod, and then basically just holds out his hand as if asking you to give him the dagger.
I'll flip it, catch it on the blade, and I'll give it to him.
He basically takes it, and he'll also attempt the same thing. He does do it, but it's quite clear that he's not particularly well versed in small weapons. So he fumbles it a little bit at the end, but doesn't necessarily fail spectacularly. But he sort of admits that you've won this particular contest, flicks the knife up, and hands it back to you.
Nice. Docker's gonna. Do you know, like when you do the when men like slap each other on the shoulder as if to say,
Yeah.
"I respect you."
Yeah.
He's gonna do one of those, and he goes, he's gonna like, not. It's not gonna be so hard that it's gonna hurt him, but it's obviously it's gonna be like a quite forceful,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna go, "We'll get along swimmingly."
And at that, he raises another eyebrow and gives you a provocative look. At which point, like, the the woman Jennifer appears to see this and just sort of like gives herself a face palm. Like, for God's sake.
All right, I'm gonna try and bring things back on track. I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna eye Drucker and ask if the contact happens to be a bard by any chance.
Oh god.
So, the man with sort of the winged helmet basically says, yes, you're dressed in a vivid purple outfit with a feather in his head.
Why does he wear a feather? Did he kill a bird?
I suppose he uses it for that extra flourish whenever he bows. Should you engage him in conversation, he's very, shall we say, personal boundaries are not something that he is aware of, particularly for the female members of the community. At which point, Clarissa lets out, the woman with wings basically lets out a slight giggle.
Doc is going to remember what he did earlier, and he's going to be really chilled at first, as if like nothing's happened. And then, do you know, like when you realise something's gone wrong, and suddenly you go really wide-eyed, and you think, "Shit."
He realizes that I'm looking directly at him.
Doc here is going to do that exact thing. He's going to be really chill, then realise what he's done. He's going to go really wide-eyed, and he's just going to rub his head.
You know that gift with the cat where it goes, oh, that's me. I went, oh.
At which point the demon, like the shadow, basically just says, "The singing did suck though, so well played." You hear the door open, and you hear a soft padding of heavy paws, and then that same sort of like clicking and crunching noise, and then the girl from earlier basically comes in as well. She basically takes a seat right next to the woman with wings, but basically sits on the chair next to her, but puts her legs on her lap. If that makes sense.
Why is cat lady
Yeah.
sitting on bird lady? Cat eat bird.
do you say this or
Yes.
is it? Oh, don't worry. She says very playfully. Oh, we do eat each other. Don't worry. and the woman with the wings, mirroring, Jennifer basically gives herself a face palm.
Hands do not taste nice. We have just discussed this over here.
This appears to be like something which is addressed quite consistently in this group.
I'm going to just torment and say that they're not talking about food.
Okay, so the guy Birch, who appears to share your irritation, as it were, basically says, anyway, feel free to rest here for tonight, but tomorrow morning we need you to make contact with our Alpha contact. His name is Ethan Coleman. As Stick has said, you can identify him by his vivid purple outfit and feather in his head. He plays the lute okay, I suppose. He seems to...
Doc is going to
His
say
singing
under his
isn't
breath.
great.
Doc is going to say under his breath, not anymore, he doesn't.
But he does have quite a good following, but he seems to... We're fairly sure he was trying to get in contact with us, but can't, because his attempts to consistently perform in the markets are put down to the minute. We've gone over any sort of code that he might be giving us, but unfortunately we can't decipher it. So our only hope now is to communicate with him directly. We dare not risk sending one of us our own in case we're recognised. But you, as strangers to the town, you'd be able to contact him without much repercussion.
You may think that, but we'll see what happens.
If you
Doc
need...
here is going to say absolutely nothing.
Alright, I guess with that, is there any sort of... Would he know who we are from, like, the bracelets and stuff? Or...
Yes, he is also an Alpha contact. Anybody who, shall we say, takes the time to look will also know that he is a member of the Alphas. To-
Pen might say my pen.
He seems to say this quite pointedly, but he doesn't look at Docker in regards to this. Speak to George, and he gestures him behind you. Should you need anything equipment-wise, he's also trained in medicine. But should you need healing, he gestures Clarissa, the woman next to her. Clarissa is our main healer. Put clothing, equipment. Speak to George. Under no circumstances, ask Frank.
Who's Frank?
He seems to.
Is he the one flirting with
So, just as you say, "Who's Frank?" he seems to raise a hand as if trying to stop you, but then you say it, and that hand just simply goes straight to his head in a face palm.
What is it about
as-
humans and eating their hands?
As he does this, a naked man appears on the table in front of you in sexy man pose, and basically just simply says, "You called?"
Docker is going to draw his knives and point them at him.
And just for a point of reference, that's what he looks like.
Oh, for God's sake.
So the man named Birch just simply covers up his eyes and just goes, "Put some clothes on." And so Frank basically just immediately jumps to a seated position, and basically, "Ugh, fine, you're no fun." And he basically dresses himself in a bikini outfit, with red silk gloves and over the knee boots and a little French beret. But other than that, it's not really much of an improvement. So he basically sees you guys and he's like, "Oh, new people. Oh, I love new people."
I hate new people.
He turns to you, like, "Oh, don't be so dour, darling. New people are fun. New people are delicious."
You said delicious. Who's cooking?
Oh, I would. Oh, believe me, I would cook for you until. Well, a lot of things could happen between now and then.
I hate him already. I say that to the spirit in my head.
At which point, the angel and the woman with the wings and the bird both sort of nod in agreement.
Again, Docker looks in a very worried fashion. I think he says to the spirit in his head, "Are they reading my mind?"
And you just sort of hear another voice. You don't recognise it, and you barely sort of register it. But you just simply hear the words "no." And you look over at if you look over at the woman with the wings, she gives you a brief wink, but then turns her attention back to Frank on the table.
Okay. Docker says nothing
Frank's
else.
purpose in this? Is he your cook?
Oh, I can be a cook, and at which point he sort of magics himself into a chef outfit, but without clothes underneath. So he's basically wearing an apron,
just the
but
apron.
his ass is hanging out.
See,
Is it-
he dresses properly.
I can cook. And he turns into a jockey outfit. I can mount your horse, and
What is a
And
horse?
he turns into something more sensibly clothed. I can cut your hair. I can style you, and then he turns into a sort of Japanese kimono. I could masseuse you. I can do all sorts of things. But for
You
you,
can stay away from me.
but for you, I'll be your genie. And
Ooh, he's a genie.
Jason basically gives him a somewhat hurt look and says, "I thought you were my genie." And then Frank basically says, "Oh, I'm everybody's genie, darling. I'll be a genie for you tonight if you want me to." And then he basically turns to each of you and says, "Well, if you're going to be part of our little family here, I will grant each one of you 3 wishes of anything you desire. Believe me, darlings, anything you want."
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can I wish for more wishes?
Oh, I'm sorry, darling. I shouldn't mislead you like that. And then from seemingly nowhere, basically from in between his legs, he pulls out a big scroll and sort of rolls it out onto the floor, and it basically rolls from the table all the way over to here. I'm afraid there's all sorts of health and safety and T's and C's that need to be dotted. But you can wish for anything you want, aside from when he puts on a pair of reading glasses. You can't wish for people to be killed. Can't wish for more wishes. You can't wish to banish me. And I can't raise anybody from the. No wait, can I? He sort of scrolls up the scroll a bit. No, I can't raise people from the dead. And well, I can influence people to love you, but I can't make them get into bed with you. Not magically, anyway.
So you can't do anything as you said before, right? So you're.
Well, not magically, darling, but I have my ways.
Genie and wingman.
It's kind of new. He's still thinking about the three visions, and he's like staring in the emptiness of the room, and he got lost.
So, what are you saying? Sorry, Michele, what did you say?
Oh, I just said that Turik is just thinking of like he's staring on the wall, and just thinking of what it could be three wishes.
He's thinking about his three wishes and what he would use them for.
So Scott basically, so the guy is, Birch is basically called Scott, so I'll keep calling him that. But Scott basically sort of like waves a finger at you and says, just be very, very careful. One of those T's and C's that he's talking about is that whatever you wish for will backfire in some way. And Frank makes an affronted gasp and like, no, it won't. My wishes are entirely genuine and completely safe. And Jason, the black guy, basically says, yeah, tell that to my endowment. I've had a micro penis for months.
Docker is just going to slowly back away from Jason.
So, in, shall we say, the layman's terms, do you accept this quest?
As long as Bird Lady does not have to come near me.
The bird lady, as it were, sort of like gives you a quizzical look and sort of like goes, fine, I'm not going to ask.
Birds eat lizards. Like birds.
In Docker,
How do you feel about the cat?
in the cat? In Docker's head, he's going to go, I like the bird lady. I don't know why she has an issue with him. No, what? I don't even know what I just said. But he's basically gonna say, I like the bird lady. I don't see what the issue is.
And then you just hear like that voice in the back of your head, and it's like, oh, there's hope for you yet.
Docker's gonna look over, stand up, and put his back against the wall, and be very startled as to what the hell has just gone on.
I give my agreement and ask if there's anywhere we can turn in.
Sure. Okay, so in regards to Docker, nobody else seems to be communicating with you in this way. So to them, you're just like randomly just pressing yourself against the wall. So
Docker is being strange.
So everyone.
I was going to ask if we can pick up on like them like glancing at each other or.
Give me a perception check.
Perception. What am I adding a perception?
I'm being
1.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, not 20. Very perceptive. 21 in total.
So you're picking up that she's doing something mischievous to Docker, and her latest sort of like prank, as it were, has caused him to do this. So you're aware that she's done this, but in terms of like what's been said, etc., hasn't been picked up.
So I'm aware that something is happening, but
yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to keep that information to myself.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
Turek is just gonna say that his quest was to actually start this journey, so he's here for this purpose. He's gonna follow it 100%.
Okay. So he basically gestures to George. George will show you to your room. Unfortunately, it's a little bit cramped, but you'll be comfortable for tonight. So George, who's basically been standing silently by the door all this time, basically bows. That please follow me.
I see
Sure,
you have
follow
slaves
George.
too.
So Casey basically put the tiger girl, and basically just pipes up. Oh, he's not a slave. He's been with my family for longer than I have.
So he's a slave.
Yeah, he's a valued member of this family.
Docker is going to slowly make his way around the room while still staring at the bird lady, and is then going to go out of the door and quickly bolt towards the corridor.
As you leave, you just sort of like hear Scott say to Clarissa, and like, "What did you say to him?" And she basically says, "Well, I'm not telling you, am I?"
The bird ladies are suspicious.
McKelly, are you joining?
Yeah. I just gonna bow to everybody in the room, thanking them for the presents, and just gonna split out of the room.
So he basically leads you to this back room, which is basically a combination of a desk, a fireplace, and then in this room are various beds.
I'm going to steal a blanket and I'm going to curl up in a corner.
Okay. So do you guys want to effectively fast forward to the next morning?
Can do.
Yeah. Do I have a conversation? Oh, sorry. Does the spirit in my head talk to me at all, or does he not say anything?
It basically just says, "This is an interesting place. We need to find out more about that woman and how she's able to talk to us."
Docker's gonna say, yes. I don't like that she can read my thoughts.
Okay. So you guys just go fast forward to the next morning?
I'd like to,
Yes.
before we sleep, discuss with Drucker apologising to the bard in the morning.
Okay.
Oh God.
And maybe have a somewhat warning of maybe not being so hostile to the people that are singing.
Alright, so how do you want to play that? Is it...
Oh God. What do you do? Do you just come up to me and say that? Do you?
Just as we sort of like get into the room, I assume George kind of just leaped to it.
He's basically just standing at the door, holding the door open for you.
Alright, okay. What are you doing right now? Like, are you still...
What am I doing right now?
Yeah, are you like
Come
to the room with us, or...?
Yeah, I came into the room.
I suppose, like, I'd just say it, like, nonchalantly, like, you know, before we sort of turn in, you might want to think about apologising to the bard.
So he's gonna look at you and go, Docker doesn't apologise, but Docker agrees.
At which point, George basically bows and is like, "Should you require anything, there is a bell by the door. I would advise you not to roam the halls calling out for help, as Master Padwin needs his sleep."
Very well, George.
He bows.
I will,
he bows
turn
to
in
you
for the
and
night.
basically allows the door to close.
Okay. Well, I mean, as long as we're in agreement, I'm gonna just turn in for the night, I guess.
Okay. So we basically fast forward to the following morning. A crow basically makes his presence known as the sun rises, and that's basically your sort of cue to basically get up.
If anyone else can see that on the screen.
I think you went a bit too fast for them. So, right, so added to the cockerel's crows, you've also awoken to Taunton just running through the hallways, just screaming their heads off.
God damn lizard people.
I'm chasing the sun. It is part of my culture. And then a bird turned up.
So Scott is basically just sitting at the table, and he appears to effectively be helping preparing the meal for the day. He's still dressed in the exact same outfit that he was before, so he doesn't appear to have turned in for the night.
Okay, but it is like the next morning.
Yeah, basically it just looks like he's been active throughout the entire night.
Okay.
But you do notice, however, that actually give me a perception check.
All of us.
Anyone who's interested.
I rolled 18. I have.
Not fun.
That's it, 18.
Perception, I roll.
I rolled a 16.
Okay.
13.
And McKelly?
I'm sorry, I got a little bit distracted.
That's alright.
It's an 11.
Okay. You basically notice that his quiver of arrows has significantly less arrows in it, if that makes sense. So whatever has happened during the night, he's gone out and shot something.
Ah,
I'd like to inquire about his night. Well, his lacking of arrows.
Are
With
you
a
ju-
long night question.
Are you going to ask him subtly, or are you just going to be direct about it?
I will literally just say the words "long night" in question.
I've had significantly longer. And he basically looks up at you and he doesn't seem to show any sign of tiredness. But things happened, things ensued, some things died, but other than that, it was a fairly standard night.
Very well. I'll leave it at that.
If you want drink, he sort of like leans on the chair so that he's sort of clear of the table. Quite deftly balanced, and he basically points at the cabinet that the girl had been praying at before. That if you want drink, there's water in there with various flavors. There's I think there's some bread left in that cupboard. So we also have some dried hams. Supplies should be coming in later today, so we should be okay for food. So feel free to help yourself.
I've stolen some water and I've stolen as much meat as I can stuff in my pocket.
Okay.
And I'm going to sit in a corner and drink.
At which point Frank basically appears next to you and is like, "You know, if you were to wish for food, I could most definitely help with that."
I don't. You don't smell right.
I don't smell right. I'll have to go fix that, and he vanishes.
I will make myself a sandwich, I guess, if there's bread and ham,
Sure.
and wait for everyone else to rise
Chef,
from
what
their
do you
slumbers.
want? What do you want to do? McKelly?
hi, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here. If there's any kind of raw food that can find around in this kind of layer, I just gather around and trying to make some breakfast slash heavy lunch for everybody as much as I can.
Okay. Okay, so how long do you want to remain in the Alpha Base now that it's daytime?
What sort of time are we at, roughly?
It's
Give or take?
about... You woke up about 5, so if you wait an hour, it's about 6.
Will we know if like the market will start to be alive that early? Because he said that the bard normally spends his time there.
But from where you are, you can sort of like hear the distant sounds of people getting ready. But
Okay.
the town isn't necessarily coming to life in terms of like sort of prime time, but
People are starting to wake up.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can wait for Turk to cook and potentially have some breakfast, I guess.
So while you're doing that, Padwin the cat basically sneaks up and jumps onto the table next to you. Is that you're very tall?
And you are very small.
I'm a cat. He sort of like goes into a pounce pose. So I
I
pounce
can
things.
see.
Why is your face red?
What colour does the cat's face?
The cat is basically a very, very jet black. But then his underbelly is orange, and then the tips of his paws are orange. He also has the exact same green eyes as the woman who could turn into a tiger.
Okay. For the same reason that your face is black.
Did Daddy drop you in paint too?
I'm just gonna chuckle at him.
So Scott basically scoops up the cat and is like, yeah, we keep telling him that because he won't stop asking. So
Why is man baby cat? I'm whispering this in the corner.
seemingly, though, he seems to hear you and is like, that's another story for another time. Let's focus on what's in front of us for the time being.
What's in front of me is my breakfast. Ha ha ha! Stuff my face.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to fast forward to the next hour and head out?
Yeah, during that time, I'd like to just sort of ask Scott if there's any sort of information that we'd need about, like, the bard in particular.
Ethan, well, he wasn't my first choice for an alpha contact, but let's just say he has a lewdness that attracts the wrong sort of attention. His music isn't isn't really something that you could consider income. He's been a bit of a drain on our resources, in all honesty. I would have preferred somebody who had a bit more talent and was able to self-sustain. But when push comes to shove and he needs to do the right thing, he can be counted on. So, but so take whatever he says with a pinch of salt. But if he needs to be serious about something, believe him.
Okay. Then I will inquire as to whether or not everyone's sort of ready to head out, I guess.
Everyone ready to head out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sunshine! Take me outside!
Okay, so you journey through the town, which is significantly more livelier than it was before, and you basically arrive at the market. The market is still in the stage of setting up, but in certain cases there's still a little bit flooded from where the rain had formed big puddles and stuff. But we basically have a florist, effectively a grain merchant, a butcher, a fruit merchant, some various forms of medicine, and effectively a healer, as it were, and then various herbs and other medicinal objects which aren't being sold by the healer. And then in the middle is this big table, and as it was yesterday, the bard is sitting on the table and is playing what looks like a newly repaired lute.
He's back!
That's your friends over there.
Might I suggest that you guys go and speak to him before I turn up and he runs away?
Okay.
Story of your life. Huh?
That seems reasonable. Is this like a group of people sort of like around him?
Yep, the table is being sort of utilised as people who are both listening to the bard and also just using this table to have a light meal.
I'll
Okay.
force myself at the table with them.
He's playing a completely different song now, but it's basically a song. You guys have all seen The Witcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's okay. Yeah, he's basically singing a version of "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher," but an alpha version, if that makes sense.
Toss a coin to your alpha.
Nice.
So there seems to be met with quite positive reaction from his audience. But however, it's the meaning of it appears to be sort of like washing over their heads.
Okay, so is he like trying to sort of give a message through the song?
Give me an intelligence check. Sorry, perception check rather.
Perception.
I'm gonna actually sit on not on the table, on the bench.
Yeah.
At the table.
Are you actually sitting down? Oh my god.
I got 7.
I'm copying. I'm learning. So technically, I'm sort of propped on my tail.
But being Dragonborn and utilising a different form of what you consider music, you're not picking up any concept of what is really being said. You're not picking up any sort of like code words or anything like that. As far as you can tell, it's humans doing their human things, and it's sort of alien to you.
Okay.
Can I appear at this point, but can I appear with my trench coat slightly raised on the sleeves so you can see the band? And I almost gesture to it when I walk up to him.
It's he sees you, but there doesn't seem to be, aside from like him smirking at you, there doesn't appear to be any reaction, and he doesn't like miss a note or anything, and he carries on with the song until he finishes it. The crowd gives like a sort of half-hearted applause to him, and he basically sweeps himself off the table with a flourish of his legs, and steals the goblet off the table as he walks around. He basically comes to join you. Like, I thought I recognised you, but you seemed a bit hostile, shall we say, last time we met.
I'm going to offer apologies on behalf of Drucker, as he seems to stumble over whether or not he will or not.
Yeah, Docker doesn't actually actively say the words "I'm sorry."
Do you like really
but-
stammer it? It's like
Yeah, he's like stammering about. He's only ever learned to, if he does something, he means it, and he is not sorry for it. And now he's been told he should probably say sorry. He's like,
You're really trying to force your way to saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick up on this and offer the apology in his place.
But Michele, what is your character doing?
I guess he's naturally just browsing around in the market to just meet if he found anything interesting.
Okay. So the bard, who you recognise as Ethan Coleman, from the description that Birch gave you, he's basically dressed like this.
Mm-hmm.
He basically sweeps off his hat and gives you a very flourishing bow. Ethan Coleman, at your service. I assume by the fact that you're wearing those bracelets that we have a mutual benefactor.
What is that then?
I'll take that as a yes. But come, let's talk under cover, shall we say. I'm under surveillance, he says very conspiratorially. And he goes over here. Okay, so Michele, do you want to give me a perception check?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Coming in the house. 90.
Oh, good roll. Okay, so but you're going through the goods. The grain stuff is fairly standard materials. It's not something it's something that you've seen in like a million marketplaces everywhere else. The meat, however, appears to be very high quality stuff. But as if like it was like butchered literally days ago or that night, and it's basically as fresh can be.
Interesting.
It's the sort of thing that you would have been happy to cook in the temple, and so, but yeah, it's the sort of thing that you'd be happy to buy for top price.
I guess it's even a bit expensive to buy over here.
Yeah, you can talk to the butcher if you want and see if he's willing to sell.
Can do if he's up for it.
Okay, so you go over to the butcher, and he's basically in the process of hacking apart like a big, sort of like rump steak. So he's like slams the cleaver down into the meat and sort of like wipes his brow with his bloodied hand. He's like, greetings. I'm not quite open yet, but to say an early bird discount could come your way if you decide to buy something ahead of the crowd.
Oh, this is really really nice of you. And Tariq just bows to him. I can see loads of prime meats over here. I will be really pleased to buy something for journeys or something that it can last even a little bit long than 3 days or something like that.
Oh, aye. All of this has been freshly butchered. I butchered it myself. I'm very pleased with it. This is prize-winning meat here. I can give you. He basically just gestures at the big rump that he's hacking apart. You can have all of this for, should we say, and he sort of weighs it in his hand. 5 silver.
Oh, okay. Can I do a roll of intuition to see if it's a right price to pay or is a little bit overpriced?
Sure.
My idea.
So you're doing this while a lizard is basically just going behind you.
I think I just get used to it now. It's been 2 days, right? What was the roll about? I mean,
Perception.
Perception.
I will roll perception too, because I'm a lizard with good sense of smell.
Oh, I rolled a 1, so it's 3 in total.
Okay.
So-
But given that
Yeah,
given that he's basically holding the meat, you can't really tell how much it weighs, but judging from sort of like the price tags that you've seen on the other sort of stacks, this appears to be still on the sort of expensive side, but still cheaper than what is already up. If that makes sense. So he is
yeah.
being genuine about giving you some sort of discount.
Cool.
Does my sniffing
yeah.
give him any information? Because I rolled a 19. I sniffed it.
Sure. This is very bloodied meat, so will be full of flavour and fat and stuff like that.
There you go. That's what I tell you. There's lots of blood and lots of fat. Good cook.
All right, thank you, crocodile. Yeah, I'll buy those. And I really thank you and thank bows again.
Okay. So he basically he wraps up the meat in what looks like an old piece of paper and basically just hands it to you. But Tordum was right about the blood, as blood is always starting to seep through the paper.
Mhm. Okay.
Good doing business to you. And at which point he then pulls out an even bigger hunk of meat and starts hacking that apart.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your kindness.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay, so what are the rest of you doing while this browsing is occurring?
Doc is still having a mental breakdown from the fact he's just had to try and apologise.
I'm going to go up to Doc and I'm going to pat him on the shoulder. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
And then is probably swiftly gonna follow Ethan.
Okay, so put. David, what are you doing?
Oh, hang on, I'm muting myself. I forgot. So I'd like to just do a sweep of the area as see if I can see who might be watching them.
Okay. Where exactly are you going to look first?
Like specifically?
Yeah.
I suppose over towards like I can see the butcher has been sort of occupied.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess over towards maybe the florist from where we came from.
Hereish. Yep.
Yeah.
But give me a perception check.
We have rolled a 13. Do I have anything extra for perception? +1, so I got a 14 in total.
Okay. So you can sort of see, but it's not adopting a sort of like threatening posture or anything like that. But a very, very large dog is basically just like sitting in, sort of out of the way, sort of like underneath this umbrella thing. But the only thing that appears unnatural about it is its size. It's very much, but it's small for, say, if you were measuring it against like a pony or a horse, but it's very large for a dog.
Okay.
It's not necessarily doing anything. It's just just chilling out, but just there, just watching everything.
And it's just kind of sitting there under the. Well, I can't tell if it's doing anything or.
Getting very excited.
Okay. I mean, I guess if I'm not seeing anything sort of too out of the ordinary, with the exception of large dog, I will sort of just follow them
Okay.
towards
Okay.
I'll signal over. Michele's character. I forgot his name already.
Turek.
Torek. Yeah. So I'll signal him to that we're like sort of heading in this direction, so that he's not entirely out of the loop.
Turek, are you gonna go with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so Ethan has been waiting for you quite patiently by the umbrella. But is that good? So first off, I need to apologise. But I should have contacted the Alpha sooner, but I really couldn't. Ever since this killer has arrived, people have been following me. I don't know if it's related, but I didn't want to tempt fate. So I've been coming here and making my presence known and just keeping myself in, shall we say, the spotlight. They say the best place to remain safe is in the place where all the witnesses are, and it appears to have kept me safe for now. Well, there's a gang which has recently moved in. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be anything to write home about, but this happened on the exact same day that the killing started, so I can't believe that it could be a coincidence. And that same gang, they've been following me everywhere. I've got no idea why, and quite frankly, I don't want to find out.
So how do you know it's a gang? Do they stand out by the different symbol, clothes, or they just fit together as a gang?
Oh, trust me, these people you can't miss, even with basketball. And, oh, crap. And you just sort of like, he's looking at a spot behind you. And if you were to basically turn around, you could see that 4 quite brutish-looking guys have entered the marketplace. Each of them dressed in very sort of like basic armor. They're all wearing horned helmets, like the sort of thing you would see in Skyrim. Actually.
For the king!
Okay, guys. So, oh, great, they found me. If they were to tell you that I may or may not have knocked up their sister, don't believe them.
Okay.
Okay, so the thugs basically see you and see him with his feathered hat, and basically come straight over to you. You, Coleman! Yeah? Yes? Hello, what was your name again? You're exactly identical to, the others, so it kind of makes things a bit, awkward where introductions go along. Are you Bloodbeard? No, you can't be Bloodbeard. You don't have any blood in your beard. Which one are you again? And the guy doesn't seem at all amused by this. But he is, however, looking curiously at the fact there's a lizard darting around. He's like, Coleman, you're coming with us. I'm sorry I can't, but I could definitely make room for you tomorrow. So if you were to come back tomorrow, we can organise an appointment then. Help?
Doc is just going to put his hands in his trench coat sleeves again and say he's going nowhere.
So
I'm sure we can sort something out, right?
So this sort of starts various chuckles throughout these four guys. All of the people sort of around are sort of like starting to take cover, as it were, behind all of the stalls. And you also notice that the dog is sort of shuffled forward a little bit. So he's going nowhere, is he? So it looks like we've got a good Samaritan on our hands.
Well,
Boys?
I wouldn't call myself a good Samaritan. I'd say I'm more of a born killer.
Really? Well, then this will be fun. Boys? And they all sort of like ready their maces. And if you guys want to roll initiative?
One. Yes, I can't do anything yet. My other position.
17 for me.
Oh my god!
Yep.
That would be a natural 20 for 22.
Oh wait, do I add something to initiative? Plus
Yep.
1.
Yep.
So I've got 19 in total.
I got
I
21.
wanted 22 as well.
So 19. So Josh, what did you get?
I got 22.
David, what did you get?
19 in total.
David, 19. McKelly, what did you get?
I got a 22 as well.
22. Josh and McKelly, can you re-roll your dice?
Yes.
22 again.
15.
Okay. Okay, so... Okay.
Did we actually get the names of these thugs, or are they just...
They're just generically Elder Scrolls named Bandit 1 through 4.
Okay. Can the guy in the back be 5? Like, number 4's missing, he's gone somewhere.
Yeah,
1,
sure.
2, 3, and 5.
So you got red one, blue one, snail one, and broken-hearted one.
Nice.
Is he the one whose sister Ethan may or may not have knocked up?
Probably like broken hearted.
Okay. So now, what did you get?
21. Sorry.
21. Okay.
Now.
Damn, I thought I rolled well. I'm the last to go.
I got natural 20. I was well happy.
Okay. Right. So we've sort of reached the 2-hour point that we were going to do.